how asexual reproduction is done. Now, in this, we will start with the sexual reproduction. Okay. Now, in the last year class, we learned the structure of flower. In that structure of flower, you had learned, you had labeled stamen, pistil, and every part. Okay. But you at that time you were not knowing what a stamen is, what a pistil is. Only you had to learn that these are the different parts. You just had to label the parts of the flower. Now here in this chapter we will learn what a stamen is, what a pistil is, what does it do in a flower. These all things we'll be studying in detail. Okay, so this is important that we know that we studied at the starting of this chapter that flowers are the reproductive parts of a plant. Now, stamens are the male reproductive part and pistil is the female reproductive part. Okay. Now, according to the male and the female parts in a flower can be divided into two types. One is unisexual and other is bisexual. Okay. Now, which type of flowers are called unisexual flowers? The flowers which contain either only pistil or stamen are called as unisexual flowers. Okay, and the flowers which contain both stamen and pistil are called bisexual flowers. Okay, so the flowers which contain only stamen or only pistil means a flower has only the male part or the female part, then such type of flowers are called unisexual flowers. And the flowers which has both the parts in it means a single flower has stamen also and pistil also, then it is called as the bisexual flowers. The examples of unisexual flowers is corn, papaya and cucumber. Okay, so you should remember this, which are the examples of unisexual flowers. Similarly, the examples of bisexual flowers are mustard, rose, petunia. Okay, so these are the examples of bisexual flowers. Now, both male and female unisexual flowers may be present in the same plant or in different plant. Okay, so for example, if you have a papaya plant, two papaya plants, so in one of the papaya plant there may be many flowers. Similarly, in the other papaya plant also there may be many flowers. So it is not necessary that if one flower in the first papaya plant is male, then all the flowers will have the male part. It is not necessary like that. Different flowers have some will have female part, some will have male part. Okay, so it is not necessary that in unisexual flowers, if a plant has many flowers, then all the parts will be male only. It will be a combination of both. Some flowers will have male and some flowers will have female. Okay, now you must have seen a powdery type of material which gets sticked on your in your hands when you pluck a flower or when you keep a flower in your hand. That is the pollen grains which are present on the anther. Okay, now where is the anther present? Anther is present on the stamen and stamen is the male reproductive part of a flower. Okay, so in the male reproductive part of the flower, anther is present which contains pollen grains, which from the pollen grains come out the male gametes. Pollen grains produce male gametes. Now, similarly, a pistil. Pistil is the female part. It contains stigma, style, and ovary. And inside the ovary, it has one or more than one ovules. And the ovules produce female gamete or the egg. Okay. Now, when the male gamete and the female gamete, that is, when the pollen grains and the ovules come in contact with each other, they form a zygote. Okay, so when they fuse, when the male sexual reproduction, when a male and a female gamete fuse, they form a zygote. A stamen and pistil is okay. So in this figure, it is shown very clearly to you that a stamen consists a filament, this tube which is called as a filament, and on the top this structure which is called as the anther, on which you have the pollen grains, and these pollen grains contain the male gametes. Okay. Now in this figure, the B part shows you the pistil, that is the female part, and the female part is divided into stigma, style, ovary, and ovules. Okay. Stigma is the top sticky part on which the pollen grains stick. Okay. Style, through which the pollen grains get transferred. This is a tube. Style, it looks like a tube through which the pollen grains which come and sit on this stigma, they pass to the ovule through this style, enter into the ovary, and come in contact with the ovules which contains the female gametes. Okay. Now we'll study what is pollination. Okay. So pollen grains have a tough protective coat which prevents them from drying up. Okay. So the pollen grains have a very hard protective outer coating which does not allow it to dry. So since pollen grains are light, they can be carried by wind or water. Okay. Now insects visit flowers and carry away pollen on their body. So you must have seen the butterflies, honeybees and all. They come and sit on the flower to suck the nectar. But at that time, what happens, the pollen grains which are present on the stamens anther, they stick to their body, and when that same insect flies and sit on another uh, flower, if that flower has a female part, then the pollen grains stick to the stigma of the pistil, and then the pollen grains get transferred through the style to the ovary, and then it comes in contact with the ovule which contains the female gametes, and this is how the reproduction occurs there and a zygote is formed. Okay. Now what is pollination? Pollination means the transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma of a flower. Okay. So what is pollination? It is a transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower. Now pollination is also divided into two types. One is self-pollination and other is cross-pollination. Okay. Self-pollination means that the pollen lands on the stigma of the same flower or another flower of the same plant. Means there is a rose plant, it has two roses. So the pollen grains from one rose flower gets transferred from that rose flower to the same plant's another rose flower. So it is called as self-pollination. Now next is cross-pollination. Cross-pollination means that when the pollen of the flower lands on the stigma of a flower of a different plant of the same kind. That means there are two plants, one is white rose flower and another is red rose flower. So when the pollen grains get transferred from the white rose flower to the red rose flower, then it is called as cross pollination. Okay. So these are also two important definitions, that is cross pollination and self pollination. Okay. Now the next topic is fertilization. Now as we went through the sentence which was saying that when the male and the female gametes fuse with each other, they form a zygote. So this process of fusing, this is a process how which the pollen grains get transferred through to the ovule in the ovary. That process is called as fertilization. Okay. So in this figure 12.11, you can see that when a pollen grains come and sit on this stigma of the pistil, a pollen tube starts developing from it, and that pollen tube gets attached to the ovule or the ovary, and then so this is how the pollen grains male gamete, from here it gets transferred through the pollen tube to the female gamete, and then fertilization occurs and the zygote is formed. And when the zygote get the nutrients that it is required, that zygote gets converted and develops into an embryo. Okay. So this is how the pollination process occurs. And also the fertilization process, how it occurs, what is self pollination and what is cross pollination. Now we'll move further and look into the how after a embryo is developed, how fruit and seeds are formed from that embryo. Okay, that is after the fertilization process. So after fertilization, the ovary grows into a fruit. Okay, so the ovary in which there was where the zygote or the embryo was formed, that ovary converts into a fruit, and the other parts of the flower fall off. Okay, the other parts, that is the stigma, style, and all the things, they dry up and they fall off from the plant. The fruit is ripened. Ripened means it is as at the earlier the fruit is raw. The fruit gets the nutrients and everything, and it becomes ripe. So the fruit is the ripened ovary. Okay, so the fruit that we eat, that is the ovary. The seeds develop from the ovules. Okay, so where the zygote was formed, which then developed into an embryo. Okay, so the ovules get converted to seed, and the seed contains an embryo. So that embryo is inside the seed, which is enclosed into a seed protective seed coat, which we have studied earlier with a diagram of a seed. Okay, some fruits are fleshy and juicy, such as mango and orange, and some fruits are hard, like almonds and walnuts. Okay, so here this you have to remember that fleshy and juicy fruits are mango and orange, and hard fruits are almonds and walnuts. Okay, now the last topic in this chapter is seed dispersal. So in, in nature, you can see same kind of plants at different places. This happens because the seed of that plant has somehow got transferred to different places. Okay, so how these get transferred from one place to another? How a seed is getting transferred from one place to another? So there are many methods how a seed gets transferred. It is through wind, water, insects, animals, birds, human beings. Okay, so these are the different ways how a seed is transferred from one place to another. Now here in this chapter we'll be studying how wind, water, and animals helps to transfer the seeds. Now, here a question is asked that if we sow many seeds at one place, then what will happen? So, the answer is that there will be a competition among all the seeds to get sunlight, water, mineral, and space. And because of the competition, no seed will get proper nutrient and sunlight and water, and because of which no seed will be grown into a healthy plant. So it is necessary that you sow the seeds at a distance at different places, so that there is no competition between the seedlings or the seeds, and each seed can grow into a new plant. And if you grow the or if you sow the seeds at different places, then it will also be invade, it will also be able to accept the new habitats or the new environment or the new places where you are trying to grow it. Now, seeds and fruits of plants are carried away by wind, water, and animals. Okay, so these are the different methods or different ways how a seed or a fruit of a plant gets transferred from one place to another. So now further we'll look into the with examples that how a plant's seed or fruit gets transferred from one place to another. Now there are some plants such as drumstick, maple, grasses, and sunflower whose seeds have wings. Either they have wings or they have hair like structure. So in this picture they have shown you that the seed of drumstick and maple have wings, whereas the fruit of sunflower and seed of madar has hair like structure, which helps them to get transferred from one place to another. Looking into how the seed or fruit of different plants get transferred from one place to another because of the wings that are present on the seed or the fruit, or because of the hairy like structure which are present on the fruit or seed of the plant. So examples of plants in which the seed has, or the seed or the fruit has, wing or hair like structures are drumstick, maple, grasses, uh, hairy seeds of acar, and hairy fruit of sunflower. So, because of this wing and hair like structure, they can easily fly to far off places in the wind. So, these all plants, fruits, and seeds are getting transferred with the help of winds. Okay, now the other we are going to look into is water. Okay, now through water coconut plant seed is getting transferred, because you must have seen that the coconut's outer part is like a is having hair like structures, string like structures, right? And that string like structures, what do? They help to keep the uh, fruit keep floating on the water, and the fruit has such ability that they float on the water. Okay, so these fruits or seeds usually develop floating ability in the form of spongy or fibrous outer coat, as in coconut. Okay, so coconut seed is transferred from one place to another using by the method of water. Now, some seeds are dispersed by animals. How animals help in transferring the seeds? Some seeds have spiny or hook-like structures on the outer part of the seed, and when an animal passes through that plant or such, then that spiny or hooky structure gets stick to the animal's body, and because of that, the animal carries that seed from one place to another. Example is xanthium and urena. Okay, this picture of xanthium is shown. You can see this hook-like structures or spiny structures which help in getting them attached to the animal's body. The last one is some seeds are dispersed when the fruit burst with sudden jerk. Okay, some fruits when they open up, they burst and they throw out the seeds which are inside that fruit. Example is castor and balsam. Okay, so castor and balsam are the plants in which the fruit bursts and the seed gets dispersed out of the plant. Okay, so these were the different ways through which a seed or fruit of a plant gets transferred from one place to another. Hope you all are clear with this chapter. So go through the chapter once again. If any doubts, please ask in the